What's going on, everybody? This is Miko and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I wanted to basically do a response to the latest My Hero Academia, The Strongest Hero drama that's been going on with the game. I've seen a lot of things on Twitter, on Discord, on Facebook groups, on YouTube, content creators making videos, and there's a lot of opinions and feelings being thrown about the current state of the game. And so I kind of wanted to just throw my 2 cents into the ring just to give you guys an idea of where I currently sit with the game, my current thoughts, and how I'm really approaching this game going forward. Originally, I had planned on doing like a whole deep dive into Endeavor's kit and really breaking down the various aspects of this character and what I was really excited about if I were to ever get lucky to get him. But we're going to do this video instead, and you guys can still watch the gameplay of Endeavor and kind of get an idea of what he's capable of when fully ramped up and when you get a chance to play him. My hope is that by the end of this video, if you're somebody who's confused about whether you should still be playing the game, or if you're somebody who's considering quitting the game, or if you aren't sure if you should still continue playing it or anything like that, hopefully by the end of this video, you have an idea of what you should do when it comes to this game. Like I said, these are my 2 cents. This is how I'm viewing the game as a free-to-play player and everything like that. So yeah, let's go ahead and deep dive into that. The first thing that I want to just get out the way, first is, am I going to continue playing My Hero Academia, The Strongest Hero? And the answer to that question is absolutely. I am still 100% in love with this game. I still very much enjoy playing it. I don't think any of the hiccups or the bumps in the road that have come about in the first month of this game being out has been so catastrophic to where I'm like, you know what, I need to stop playing this game right now. And I think that's honestly for 2 reasons. One, I genuinely just enjoy playing the game. I think everything about this game from a gameplay perspective is awesome. It's very unique. It's, one of the only games that I've ever played that's like this. So that keeps me very hooked and plugged into just wanting to play this game. The second thing is the fact that I am free to play. Being free to play has, freed me from any type of restraints or feeling like, man, I've wasted money on this game. And I think some people that are getting a little fed up are people who are investing probably a lot of money into summons or into different resources and things like that, and they don't feel like they're getting the value that they need out of this game. And if that's true, I can understand why that would become frustrating. I understand why you would all of a sudden feel like, you know what, I need to put this game down, or I'm ready to quit because I've, spent X amount of dollars and I haven't gotten a return on my investment. If you're somebody like that, I completely understand. I understand how you can get to a point where you're heavily contemplating quitting the game. I can just say for me, because I don't have that burden on me, it's very easy for me to keep wanting to play the game and keep wanting to jump in day after day after day to do the grind, to get my heroes leveled up and get the shards that I need to be able to take them up to higher tiers and things like that. So first thing off the board, no, I don't have no intentions of quitting the game. I'm still very much having a good time with it. And I could see myself playing this game for a really long time because I really do believe, like I said, the game's only been out for a month, just over 30 days. And we still haven't, I don't think we've really seen the full potential of this game. Even though it's been out in Taiwan for a much longer period of time, I still don't think even the Taiwanese version completely scratched the surface of what this game could be. So still definitely going to be plugged into the game. Now, the second thing I want to address is the Endeavor drama. And the Endeavor drama kind of encompasses 2 aspects. First, there is the nerf to Endeavor's healing ability. And then there is also the issue that I guess occurred with his support cards and the bait and switch, I would say, that happened where people in the community thought they were getting one aspect of his kit boosted from these cards, and in actuality they were getting something completely different, and the devs didn't communicate that well. And so a lot of people ended up feeling like they were basically bait and switched into spending money on some support cards that didn't actually do what they thought it would do. So the first thing we're going to address is the nerf. So in respects to the nerf, I honestly don't have a complaint when it comes to the nerf. And here's why. I never played the Taiwanese version of this game, so I don't have firsthand experience on how different Endeavor feels in this version versus his previous version on the Taiwanese version. And because I don't have that firsthand experience, I feel like it's kind of silly to get onto YouTube or into a Discord chat or or go onto Twitter and rant about something that I literally have no firsthand experience with. Especially if I played the character, again, granted only in this tutorial, but he seems like he plays really well. He seems like his kit is still very much focused on damage output, and yes, you probably have a little bit of a suicide mechanic to him, but the damage he puts out is so ridiculous that the whole goal of using Endeavor is basically to burn through an opponent before you burn through your own health. And it's not like you're losing large chunks of health from his, few suicide mechanics. And it's not that difficult to manage in my perspective. From my, limited amount of testing that I had with this character, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. Now, I could understand if you're somebody who played the Taiwanese version and you went and you summoned for Endeavor and then you got him in game and you're playing him and you're noticing that difference. I can understand why you would be upset about the nerf. Like, I saw Seaton's video that he did on it, and apparently it's about like a 90% nerf from his kit on the Taiwanese version when it comes to his healing, and that is a huge loss, right? I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's not. However, all I'm saying is that when I played the character, as somebody who's never played Endeavor, I didn't notice an issue with his kit. And if there's not an actual problem when you're playing the character, I don't really see the point in, making a fuss about it. I mean, again, Endeavor is only the second unique character to be released in the game. First there was All Might, and now we have Endeavor. I don't think there's anything to really compare it to. We got a chance to kind of use him and play around with him as far as like in the tutorial, and I don't think anybody who's never played Endeavor would have walked away from that tutorial like, oh, this character's lacking something. I think he's still very well rounded, which kind of speaks to what the devs are trying to do with their characters, is that they're trying to make sure that they're all playable. And that's something that I really appreciate when it comes to a game like this, is that every character is useful. Every character can be used and can be mastered in such a way where you can use them in almost every form of gameplay. Now, some may excel in various modes of gameplay. Like Endeavor and Todoroki and Bakugo are known for being really good PvE units, whereas Momo and Tokoyami and even Uraraka to an extent are kind of known as better PvP units, and All Might as well. Those are all kind of considered to be better PvP units. But if you've played any of those characters, or if you have those characters, you would also know, like, well, no, they do well in PvE too. These characters are all very useful, and that's something, like I said, I really appreciate, because to briefly take a side note, like, I've played 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross before. I played it for nearly a year, and I eventually gave up on that game because I felt like the game was constantly rolling out new characters that were constantly changing the meta. You would have certain characters that were really, really good, and you would save up, your gems and things like that to summon for them, only for them to eventually be, not necessarily made useless, but easily trumped by another character that was released, a month or 2 weeks later. And now you feel like, well, now this character is not as useful because there's now a perfect counter to him. I feel like the devs with My Hero are really trying to make sure that all their characters are well-rounded, and so that they're all usable in various modes of gameplay, so that you don't feel like, well, if I don't have this character, then I can't progress. Like I said, some of these characters are better in PvP versus PvE, but I honestly believe that you can progress throughout just like the main story and various chapters of this game with any of these characters, as long as you put in the time to master their skill set and understand how to play them. I think Ida is probably like the greatest example of that. When this game first launched, there were so many people saying that Ida was like the worst character in the game, and now like I can't go onto Twitter or Discord or even YouTube without somebody doing something ridiculous with Ida at every turn. So just because Endeavor is missing one aspect of his kit doesn't mean that he's not playable. It just means that he's not the same version that some players got to know on a different version. But that doesn't mean that he's bad either. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden he's the worst character in the game, or that he's, like I said, that he's not playable. He's just different. And that's something that, like, again, I think as a community, we should be able to still embrace and be like, okay, well, this character's not exactly the same, but he's still very useful. He's still very playable. Sorry. And he still does one of the main functions, which is do a lot of damage. That's Endeavor's whole MO, is to do a ton of damage, and he does that really well. The next thing is the whole issue with the support cards, right? Now, this is a problem. This is absolutely a problem in the game, because if the devs rolled out, even if it was by mistake, if they rolled out information saying that the character does one thing, or that these cards did one thing, but in actuality they do something completely different, people should be able to get full refunds. People who want refunds should be able to get full refunds, and that should happen very quickly. Now, if you haven't seen their response to this, like the devs did put out a whole response to the issues that are kind of happening in game as far as related to Endeavor and the support cards, and they are basically saying that they're being slow with the refunds because some people have abused the system. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, that could very well be the truth, right? I know some people don't want to hear that. They may want to be like, oh, this is just the dev stalling, or this is just the dev's way of trying to keep people from quitting and playing the long game. I will tell you guys from firsthand experience, I have played enough mobile games to know that if people can find a way to scam a developer into giving them a refund just because they didn't get the results they wanted, they will. It happens, right? Guys will summon for things, spend tons of money, realize that they didn't get anything that they thought they would, and look for a way to get a refund. It happens. So the developers taking their time and saying like, look, we're being slow with the refunds because some people have abused the system, is a legit thing. People do that. However, for those who actually are requesting an actual refund because they literally spent money with the mindset of like, oh, these support cards were going to help with Endeavor's healing ability, but actually they only help him with more damage, and they want a refund on that, then yes, the developers need to figure out a process to get them some sort of compensation, even if it's not full compensation, just as a like, hey, this is to tie you over, but there will be an additional refund coming to you, in X amount of days. Give people a window so they at least know what to expect, or know how long they may be waiting until that refund actually hits their account. That's fair, and that's what the community deserves, honestly, for supporting this game for a month. So those are essentially my thoughts on the Endeavor thing. I think the hype or the backlash over his nerf is a little overblown. I feel like 90% of us never even got to play the Taiwanese version of Endeavor. So like I said, like I feel like that complaint is a little overblown. But the support card issue is a serious issue, and I believe it's Sony that's in charge of the global version of this game, or at least the US version of this game. They definitely need to button it up, right? Things like this shouldn't happen where you have misinformation going out. And if it does happen, again, you need to be able to respond quickly. Like I said, I play Marvel Contest of Champions as well. And while Kabam isn't the greatest at communicating all the time, they are usually pretty on top of things like this, where if something has to be changed like rapidly and it was a mistake that was made, they're usually pretty good about getting into their forums or getting onto social media and getting that information out. And I think that's the least you can do, is at least get onto Twitter and put something out on Twitter, put something out on your Facebook page, letting people know in advance, like, hey, this was a mistake, we caught it, we are fixing it, hopefully nobody summoned on it, and if you did, you will be compensated. It's really that simple, to be able to keep your entire community from losing their minds and feeling like you're just trying to steal money from them. And then the third thing that I wanted to talk about kind of is, like, I really don't want to talk about it, but I feel like I'm just going to dive into it because I'm seeing it a lot, is the amount of back and forth that you're seeing between your content creators, right? Now, I'm not going to talk as if like I'm this superior content creator and I'm somewhat superior morally than other people. I'm relatively new to being a content creator, so my opinion, you know, take it as far as you want to take it. But if you're seeing drama going on between content creators, take every bit of that with a grain of salt, in my opinion, right? We all have our favorite content creators that we love to watch, that we love to support. I'm a huge fan of Seaton. I've been watching Seaton's content. Like I said, because him and I both play Marvel Contest of Champions, I've literally been watching his content since I started playing that game. And that game's been around for like 5-6 years, something like that. So I've been watching his content since I started playing this game. And I'm a huge, you know, follower of his content. However, even with Seaton, like, there are times where I have to kind of like, again, kind of weigh some of his opinions, or just because he has an opinion doesn't mean that I have to co-sign on it. You know, Seaton can be really, really upset with the game because he's played a lot of games and he's a whale. He invests a lot of money. So his viewpoints and his perspective of this game is going to be completely different than my own. And that's fine. Like, there's no problem with that at all. I don't have any issue. If Seaton says that he's really upset with the game, he's allowed to be upset. He invests a lot of money. You guys have, if you've watched his content, you've seen his openings. He puts out a ton of money to make great content. So if he's somebody who's upset and fed up with the game, he has that right to be. I'm also a huge friend of Clint Wolf. Clint is just like, I feel like he's really authentic and very honest with his opinions and his insight on games. And so I'm a huge supporter of him. But just because Clint feels one way, if I disagree, I disagree. You know, it doesn't mean that I'm no longer a supporter of his or that I would never watch any of his content anymore. It's just, you know, he has a different opinion. So I think as a community, again, if you have your favorite content creators, there's nothing wrong with supporting them. There's nothing wrong with still continuing to watch their content. But again, always be willing to weigh their opinions versus your own and realize, okay, do they really line up? Or am I just co-signing because, you know, I want to be a fan and I have to, you know, I feel like I have to support this person because I'm a fan of theirs. That's not always the case, right? You're allowed to have your own opinion. You're allowed to sit back and be like, well, actually, I'm still enjoying the game. Or no, I'm not enjoying the game, whichever it may be. But, you know, one of the worst things that I think we could see in a community like this, where a game is brand new, is having content creators chirping back and forth at one another for whatever the reason may be. I'm not going to pretend like I know why certain people are having issues with one another. I don't know any of these people personally. It may be legitimate stuff, but again, as a community, we can always still support these content creators or whoever we so choose, without feeling like we're just co-signing just for the sake of co-signing. So with all that said, like I said, those are my basic thoughts on the game so far. I think the game has definitely hit a really big bump in the road right now, and there's definitely some changes that need to be made in order for this game to really be able to last. And like I said, I think it's barely scratched the surface of what it could be. I think there are so much untapped potential for how good My Hero Academia, The Strongest Hero, could be. I feel like we're still so many characters left to be released. We know, like, we haven't gotten Stain yet, we haven't gotten Shigaraki, but like, I still feel like we're going to get a lot of the Class A students. We could still get a lot of the Class B students. I mean, if you've been watching the anime, we're getting familiar with those characters. There's other villains that we haven't gotten. There's a lot that this game hasn't done yet. And so a part of me wants to just preach patience to the entire community, like, hey, let's just, be a little patient. But at the same time, yes, when the devs are messing up, we need to be able to voice that as well. But I do believe that we need to voice that in a constructive manner, and in a manner that's like, hey, in a situation with the support cards, hey, this needs to be fixed because it's not fair. In a situation where a character is different than a Taiwanese version, again, I think we need to kind of also take a step back from that and realize, you know what, never even played that character before, so maybe I should give this character a try before I completely start bagging on them and saying that they're not usable or that they're terrible or anything like that. So those are all of my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think as well in the comment section below. How are you feeling about the game? Are you ready to quit? Are you sticking it out? Are you being patient? Are you waiting on a refund? What's going on through your head with this game? Hopefully, me kind of voicing my thoughts helps you kind of put your thoughts together and have an idea of how you feel about this game. But that's pretty much going to do it. Please be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you're new, share this video with others if it's helpful to you and you feel like it's really good information. And I will catch you guys in the next video. See you guys later.